Okay, had to judge? Absolutely not. Okay, welcome back. If you're just joining us, the show is New Day, and of course it's Lifestyle. No, it's not Lifestyle Thursday. Goodness me, it's Friday. Feel Good Friday. And listen, it's because we love Thursdays and Fridays so much right here on New Day. So Thursday, Friday, it's all good because we love both days, okay? So if you're just joining us, it is Feel Good Friday right here on New Day, and we like to just chill, have some really good music, but also really good conversations that we should have, okay? And of course, our topic for the day, it's pretty heavy, but also important for all of us to talk about, and that is childhood trauma and the impact that it can have into adulthood. Because like I said, there's so many people out here who are struggling with so many things that we do not know they are as a result of the things that we went through when we were younger. And where do you draw the line in terms of, well, this is a traumatic event, and this is just an event that happens because this is life. Bad things happen to us most of the time, and we have to deal with them. So where do we draw that line? It can be quite a confusing phase, if I can say. But of course, we have a guest of the day here, Grace Courier, who is a family, relationship and family counselor, and she is here to give us all the information that we really need to have as far as trauma is concerned. First of all, what is trauma? How does it affect us when we are young? And how then can it affect us when we are older? So if you have any question for her, she is here to answer all your questions. If you have a story to share as well, if you are at a point in your life where you just don't understand why you behave the way you do, why you treat people the way you do, could it be because of a childhood trauma? You just don't understand what's happening. She is the best person to direct your questions to. So remember, you can give us a call. Feel free. All the areas are open, okay? The lines are open, so feel free to call us on our 791-478-990, or better yet, use our WhatsApp number 0777-672230, and let's talk, okay? At the end of the day, let's help as many people as we can out there to just know how they can cope with childhood trauma. So you do not move anywhere, do not go anywhere. Stick around until the end of the show, because I know you're going to learn a lot from today's topic. So Grace, it's good to see you.
Thank you.
You always look lovely, like all the time.
You too, and
thank you, Grace. Thank you for coming by
Yes.
today, and we really appreciate your time, first of all, because you are busy, but you've created time for us, and we say thank you. So let's just start with the basics, and I think this is a topic that we've had before, but not on this show. And we always get a lot of feedback from this, because a lot of people are struggling out here and just don't know why. Why do I just struggle in life, in things, in my relationship, interpersonal and intrapersonal as well, how I socialize with people. We just don't understand why we struggle in those areas. And it could be as a result of childhood trauma. So let's first of all just understand trauma. What is it, and where do we draw the line in terms of, like I said, this is just bad things that happen to us in life, and this is a traumatic event that can have serious impacts really in our lives.
Absolutely. Now, first of all, it's a pleasure to be here.
And
always a pleasure.
Yeah.
And childhood experiences is part of my really pet peeve. I love to talk about that, and I love to help people dig into their past, and be able to understand where I have come from. Really does inform how I will go on. And so it's when we talk about identity issues, we are talking about, you need to know where you came from and what happened and what is the experience you've had in life. So when we talk about trauma is anything that you experienced that caused you to feel unsafe, whether it was physically, emotionally, and even you just didn't feel okay. You felt terror, you felt fearful for your life, that you are vulnerable to something bad happening to you. So it can be anything. Now, that is personal experience, but trauma can also be watching. So you being in a space where you are seeing bad things happening to others, and it causes you to feel so much terror, and you feel so helpless. The word is helpless. There is nothing I can do. I'm in danger. And so you can imagine, I remember being a child and being absolutely terrified of dogs. And then my mother would say, go to Mama so-and-so and go get. And I know there are dogs in that house. So you can imagine the terror I have leaving the house, going all the way to, and then I am at the gate. I'm trying to call before I even go
in there.
And then the dogs hear me. Then they come after me. You can imagine how I feel. So that's kind of the basics of what happens. You feel, you get into the fight flight space. That is survival. Now you are in survival mode, and your body shuts down. Your body becomes consumed by this emotion. Now this is what happens. Once your body has experienced that emotion and the traumatic experience is past, what does your body do with that emotion? It stores it, and it goes into your subconscious. These are the things, these are the emotions now we deal with as adults. Because then when you are triggered, your subconscious reminds you there is something that happened before and you are not safe. And so suddenly I go back into that fight flight mode, and my whole system is terrified. And then I re-experience, we talked about PTSD. I might re-experience that.
What happened?
Yeah, so that is PTSD, but there are a lot of us who go through traumatic experiences, but they don't affect us to that extent. They just affect the way we deal with the world, what we believe about ourselves and about the world.
And it's interesting how, because life is like this, you know, there are ups, there are downs. It's not like all smooth where everything is rosy, everything is beautiful. No, sometimes, like he said, we go through things that sometimes are beyond our control. We do not feel safe. And it's interesting how some people are able to deal with it at that point. And it doesn't affect them. I mean, even into adulthood, they don't even remember they went through something like that. And then there's some people who can remember even at 2 years old what happened to them. At 4 years old, what happened to them. I was listening to a guy who had gone through a traumatic event when they were young, where the dad was an alcoholic, addicted. You know, the dad was an addict, so he would come home, beat, you know, the mom, and it got to a point where buying alcohol was the most important thing. They would rather go hungry, but ensure that there's alcohol in the house, because when dad comes home and finds there's no alcohol, it's chaos. And he said he grew into that, and so he can remember that part of his life. And then other parts of his childhood he cannot remember at all. So I'm thinking, what happens exactly to the brain that we are able to remember that and sometimes even forget the good things that happen? You know, we remember mostly the bad and the terrifying experiences that maybe made us feel unsafe. So is it that the brain stores the bad most of the time and then forgets the good? Or what usually happens?
I believe it has something to do with the intensity of the memory, the experience. You see, 5 of us can grow up in the same family. Our experiences are very different because my experience of my parents is very subjective, because the way I experience them has something to do how I experience them, even in the area of how I experience them because of the way I'm made up, my personality, my belief system, all that. So it is very complex how your brain is going to choose what to keep and what not to keep. And so I believe that because children are very emotional, you know, they are not abstract. Like today, I can go down the road and somebody mugs me and whatever, and I'll be able to, you know, sort through that. A child going through the same thing, it will be more traumatic for them, because they are using their emotional brain to experience that. And then when you think about children, they don't know how to process the emotion. And so what happens is that what our subconscious stores is the emotional experience, what I felt. It is not the logical part of it. It is usually the emotional experience, because that is what I felt and that is what I remember. So when somebody has a dream and they ask me, so Grace, I had this dream, what does it mean? And I usually tell them, tell me, what did you feel in the dream? So if it was fear, if it was excitement, whatever the feeling was, then I ask them, have you ever had that feeling before? and they will tell me, and then I will say what happened in the real life experience of that.
Yeah.
What was it? And then now, because you see, your brain is trying to process what you felt. It's the emotions are so strong.
Yeah.
And that is what that is why we will remember the stronger emotions, the
yeah.
experiences that gave us stronger emotions than the experiences that it wasn't that strong. Now, when I ask people about their childhood, and they tell me the horrible one, so I tell them, tell me a bit about what do you remember about the good ones, and they will. They will remember.
It's just that we
but
focus
you
more.
see, the thing is, the reason why they are coming to see me is because they have some stress.
Yeah.
They have something from the past.
Okay.
Or whatever is going on in their lives right now is negative. So in that context, if I don't generalize for them, and I say, I want to hear every experience of your childhood, not just the bad, but I also want, and when I do childhood experience therapy, what I normally do, I ask them to write a letter. And the letter is a sandwich. And I think I may have spoken about that before. The sandwich is celebrate, tell me what was good about your family. And then tell me now the traumas, the disappointments, betrayals, all that. And then now, let's talk about what's going on in your life right now. What have you become now? So that we look at your life in totality and we don't just, so that, because the past has happened, there is nothing we can do about it. But there are some coping mechanisms that you created during the time when you were going through that difficult experience. And those coping mechanisms are the ones which are creating the problems that you have now as an adult. The coping mechanisms can be in form of belief systems, what you believe about yourself, the narrative that you have in your mind about who you are, what your purpose is, your capabilities, and also what you believe about the world, but also behaviorally, what you do. There are people who have issues with going somewhere, so they avoid.
They avoid completely going.
They avoid going somewhere. If you ask them, I remember a lady who once told me she cannot cook spaghetti. Why? Because the day that she was cooking spaghetti, the last time she cooked spaghetti, she got a call. Her mother had just had a heart attack. Oh, no. So for 5 years, she cannot. And then she had clothes that were in the dryer. So the dryer was going. And so every time she would hear the dryer, she would panic, you see.
Yeah, I sort of can relate to that, because at one point my brother got an accident. It was a really bad accident. So both of his legs were broken. So he sat at certain seats in a matatu that I could not sit in for a very long time. A very long time. It was difficult. I could not. I remember there were some certain sounds, smell, smell of blood. So so I mean, once I felt that, I always So it
triggers your subconscious, because it stores this information. So what happens is that you are triggered and you feel it as if the way it happened before. Over time, once your mind is given the opportunity to process the trauma, then you are able to remember without the emotions.
And then there's some people who don't remember at all. I mean, for instance, like you said, there's some people who cannot go into certain spaces, cannot do certain things, cook certain foods and all those things. And when you ask them, they'll tell you, I just don't know why, you know? So what happens to that? Is it that then that is suppressed, blocked, that they cannot completely remember what happened, but what they know is that I cannot go here, I cannot maybe wear this certain clothes, I cannot maybe hear this certain song, but when you ask them why, they'll tell you, I just don't know.
Absolutely. It can be what we might call selective amnesia, where your brain selectively decides not to remember that because it is too traumatic for you. Now, normally, it doesn't mean that the memory is not there. It's there. So it can be brought back by allowing the person to start talking about what happened during that period of time. And once you do that, you might, because our brain is created in a way that it's very protective of us. And once we go into the fight-flight mode, what happens is that your brain goes into that self-preservation, and it will suppress the things that that cause you to feel some sort of pain or to feel unsafe. Now let me say something here that might help those who are listening to us to understand the four things. There are four things I usually say. Of course, they are not all, but they encompass what you need as a child to be able to grow in a way that you will be healthy and you will be able to manage whatever you deal with in life. Number one, you need to know that you are acceptable and loved. So during your first 6 years, in fact, during your first 3 years, when you have come into the world, if you do not get care and love and attention, you will start to have what we call mistrust. Mistrust of others and the world at large. So anybody who has insecurity issues, they get into a relationship, if they call and the person doesn't answer, they get so anxious, they begin to feel like that person is going to leave them, people who are afraid of rejection. That may be the root, and you need to kind of get in touch with that. I remember, I can give my own experience. When I was going through my therapy in my 30s, I think I was 30 or 32, and my therapist told me, I need for you to go back and think about your relationship with your father. And I went home and I asked my mom, I said, Mom, when I'm the firstborn, was Dad disappointed? And she told me why. I said, no, I just want to know. Because I had always, as a child, in fact, I remember very vividly at 6 years old, looking at my father and really thinking he doesn't like me. You see? Because I am the firstborn, and he was playing with my siblings, and I thought, and I wanted, I really longed for that. My mother told me when I was 3 months old, my dad disappeared for 6 months. You see?
Not because of work?
No,
because
he went to work.
He went to work. He wasn't there.
And he wasn't there. Well, the disappearing, he went to work, but my mother didn't know where he was. So there was a break. When I read and listen to research on childhood, inner child woundedness, they talk about there is a break that happens when you are a child and your caregiver doesn't connect with you in the right way. There is a break that happens, and that child stops growing emotionally, and they begin to do what we call survival. Because now they feel, I'm alone. So I'm not loved and I'm not acceptable. So I begin to be fearful of being rejected, abandonment issues. Then number two, we need for people to tell us that we are competent. We have ability. We can do anything we put our minds to. Now think about how we were brought up.
I was about to say the same.
Kichwa maji, what is wrong with you? You will not end up to be anything. Why can't you be like your cousin?
So.
You see? So when we do that, what do we do to that child? We tell that child
you're
that they
incapable,
are not
you'll
capable.
not amount to anything.
So again, we break that child. Now, number three, there is the safety issue. There is domestic violence. Your mother is being beaten right and left. Your dad is or even your mother. I have talked to young men who tell me, my mother used to beat
my
me
dad.
bad.
It's true.
Badly. Akichapwa na dadi, na sisi tutakiona. You see? Then there is this thing that all of us went through. You go to school, you do something, you are whipped. Unakuja nyumbani, ati ulichapwa.
Unatandikwa tena at home.
Unachapwa tena. So what is that saying? That I am not safe anywhere. You know, people are out to just punish me. So when we are talking about raising children and punishing bad behavior, we need to be careful that we are not breaking the spirit of the child. Let the sparing of the rod and spoil the child be, we say, the rod of instruction, the rod of training. It's not the rod of breaking the child's spirit. we need to do that in a way that that child understands. Umechapwa kwa sababu ya hii
Yeah,
na
this
hii
and
na
this and
hii.
this. True.
Then number 4, we need to feel we have control of our lives. Children who are not allowed to make mistakes.
Yes.
If you make a mistake, it's a big deal. It's
Yep.
the end of the world. Parents who are magnifiers, catastrophizers, and they do all kinds of drama
Yeah.
when
I
a
mean, we've
child
seen-
does something.
You know, we've seen, and it's just sad to even imagine that, for instance, we've seen a lot of stories on the
Yeah.
news where a parent sent the child to the shops, alimtuma, for instance, sukari, amekuja na majani.
Yeah.
You beat this child. There's some people who actually burn the hands of the child, and you're like,
that is absolutely unnecessary. It's child abuse.
abuse. Yeah.
And we need to understand that even though, but now as parents, I usually tell them, you need to figure out what is going on with you.
Yeah.
Yes, alienda akanunua, you sent them, you only had that 10 shillings, 50
Yeah.
shillings, and you sent them and they went and they brought something. Before you beat this child to death, you need to kind of, why don't you problem solve?
Yeah.
Because even if you beat the child, you still have...
Point is, ameleta majani,
Ameleta.
not sukari,
Yes,
you
so
know.
why not say,
Yeah.
you know,
Go back.
rudisha, ulete kile nilikutuma.
Yeah.
So that now we are also allowing our children to learn from their mistakes.
Yeah.
Because now when we do that, that child, we have just told that child there is no second chance.
Oh, absolutely.
And you see, what happens is that child experiences your anger and experiences terror, because you're a terrorist.
Yeah.
And then after that, there is no talking about it. There is no,
Oh,
and
yeah,
the
that's it.
child,
End of
and these
story.
are the children that we see who end up becoming addicts. They are the ones who don't care. They are the ones who even end up becoming the terrorizers in the
Yeah.
community.
Yeah.
Because nobody told them you can problem solve. So they know just one way, black
Yeah.
and white.
Yeah.
They don't know how to manage themselves
Yeah.
because their parents didn't model that.
And you know, right now, I mean, even into adulthood, we hear a lot of people
Yeah.
make jokes about this. They're like, who in our home, there was no, it is whatever mom says or whatever dad
Yes.
says, and that's it.
Yes.
There's no, or that aspect of, like he said, raising a child to let them know that they're loved,
Yes.
that they can amount to something,
Yes.
that they are powerful, they like have that freedom to exercise your creativity
Yeah.
and all those. We never had that when we were younger. It's either this way or that way.
Yeah.
End of story, you know. So some people will tell you that is just the way of life. That is how we were raised.
Yes.
That is what we know.
Yes, yes.
Once you do something wrong, there's no like, oh, I am beating you because you did this.
No.
Me, I am beating you, end of story. Maybe you do, you know, like there was no room for negotiation
Yeah.
or understanding
Yes.
and all those things. So most of us grew up knowing this is just the way of life. So then the question is, then where do we draw the line?
Yeah,
That
absolutely.
listen, you know, this is something that could be traumatic for the child or is traumatic for the child, and this is just how
Yeah.
life is. You
Now,
know?
I want to say something here, that generations past,
Yeah.
we used to be on the survival mode.
True.
So,
True.
so we were basically, the emotional part of wasn't as pronounced
Yeah.
as it is today,
Yeah.
because we have no time to be talking about feelings. We have time to be thinking about chakula,
Yep.
you know, where we will get water. So it was very survival.
Survival, true.
But there was also the community. The community was strong.
Yeah. And involved.
And involved.
Yeah.
I mean, I go to my mom's house, where my mom grew up, and they all used to live like in a village. My wuka had 2 wives, and so everybody was there. So there was a community. If my mother kicks me out, I go to my other mother. You know, so there was at least there was that balance.
Yeah.
But today, you beat your child and you lock them up in their room.
Yep.
They don't have the opportunity. Now nisikie
Someone-
uambie
Oh,
mtu.
yes. Or
You see?
even now, you discipline your child.
Yes.
They called the child helpline.
Yes.
You know, I know my right.
Yes.
You do not. Or there's a few, you know how, I mean, when we were younger, your mom, not even your mom, jirani, ameona umefanya makosa, they would, watakutandika,
Yeah.
you know, and they'll tell your mom, listen,
Yes.
nilichapa mtoto wako because of this and
Yeah.
this. Now, if you beat my child, you have to explain to me why you beat it, you know, so
We are
people are
going to-
somewhat like,
yes.
that is your own, deal with your own. You know?
And you see now the fabric of our society has deteriorated.
Yeah.
It's not protective like it used to be. A stranger would have protected a child because it's a child. But now a stranger is an enemy. You know, we are telling our children don't talk to strangers. So there is obviously we need to move with the times. Our children, we are letting our children watch TV. Me, I mean, I saw TV when I was an adult. In our house, it was the radio, and you only
radio near Baba.
And those who had TV during those days, it was in the evening from 4 p.m. and it wasn't the information that we have now. So now we have the internet, we have the media. There is so much information. Our children are very exposed. And so us as parents, we also need to rise up to the occasion and to know we cannot raise them the way we were raised.
We hear a lot of people say that, watoto wanafaa kuchapwa vile sisi tulichapwa. No.
Because these children, even if you chapa them, now us, we had to, now we chapa them and then we give them food and a phone.
Oh, yes.
So what was the consequence there? So now as parents, we have to be more creative. In our day, if you are going, me, I remember one time I disobeyed my mother. And I didn't eat supper that night. You know. You
said you disobeyed your mom. Like, oh, I'm scared for you. What happened?
Yes, you see. But you see now today, my son disobeys me. I will either chapa him or somea him, and then he can play on the PlayStation or whatever. What consequence was that? So we have to, as parents, we also have to understand that we do need to move with the time. Now, going back to childhood trauma, those 4 things, safety, control, competence, and love. And love and acceptance. I like to use them both. Those are basic needs, basic emotional and emotional needs for every child. When you don't get either one of them or all of them met, that's where your trauma begins to grow. Now, this is what we do. So if I am not loved and accepted, then what is going to happen when I become older? As I become a teenager, what do I start looking for? Places to belong. I am looking for someone to love me. So I start to get into trouble because I am trying to fix a problem. You see, when I go home, I'm not acceptable. But out here,
people accept me.
And I'll start looking for that. As a child, if I'm not very careful, then what happens? I can get into trouble. I can start, you know, smoking something with my friends because I want to fit in.
And they accept you.
And they accept me. That's how gangs form. Because it becomes a family. And if you know about the culture of a gang, it's a family.
It's a family. Oh, yes, they protect their
each other
with their all.
But when I go home, nobody cares about me. Then there is also, when we talk about control, we have parents who are too controlling. Their children cannot be allowed to venture into the world. Those children also, it is very, it is very safe for them, but their parents are not preparing them for the outside world. So once they go into the outside world, they have no clue. That's what happens to girls who are very shielded at home, and then they go to a girls' school. Then when they go to uni, guess what? In the first year, and you know the first year of uni is party time.
Yes. You're trying to discover, and then there's freedom, you know, like you're no longer in your parents' house where there you can do whatever you want, stay out until whatever time you want. So there's, you're confused because there's a lot of freedom.
Absolutely.
You don't even know what to do with this.
Absolutely. And I was having a conversation this morning with someone, and we were talking about when we grew up in poverty. You know, there is a difference between poverty, neglect, and abandonment. Poverty means we don't have. It's not that I'm being neglected or abandoned.
We just don't have.
We just don't have. So those children actually can grow up to be very successful because you see, they have the parents and they have the oneness. We are together in this poverty. So when we get home from school, me, I go look for firewood, you go look for water. We put together our resources and we grow together. You see? So what happens to this child is that one of those children, or all of them, they will be running away from poverty. So what are they going to do? They are going to work hard at school.
Yep.
They are going to do a lot of things so that they can grow. Now, this is what happens. All of us, we normally, especially, maybe not just in Kenya, I think it's everywhere.
It's everywhere across the world.
We are never trained on how to do relationships. That's where the trauma, the childhood trauma shows up.
Yeah.
Because I'm very successful in everything else, because those things that I do, my career, business and all that, it depends on me, myself. So I'm in control. Wait until I go into a relationship. I am not in control. So the loss of control begins, now it reminds you, hata nyumbani nilikuwa sina control. So we begin to be triggered and the little child within us starts to show up, to self-protect. You have had people say, I will never let a man, I will never let a woman, you know, men are, women are. Because why? Because that little child was socialized to think that way.
Oh, yes.
And you see now, what we are talking about here is the fact that our parents, even they themselves, they are coming from deficiency as well.
It's true. And you see, sometimes it's very easy for us to be like harsh on our parents.
Yes.
Zileza, oh, my parent did not provide for me.
Right.
My parents never had these conversations, especially about sex, relationships. They never had that with me. So we blame them a lot, forgetting that, listen, they are also other people's children.
Yes.
And maybe they never had those conversations. So them, they're raising you based on what they think they know.
Yes.
And also another aspect of, I mean, I remember we talk about like some things that we never had like conversations about sex, boys, girls, all those things at home. No, it was umefanya homework. You know, all those things, which is like a typical African home setup, right? Some of us were told that kusalimia mvulana you get pregnant. So most of us grew knowing, hey, you know, even into high school and all those things. So we think sometimes that it protected us, and to some degree it did protect us, but it's not helpful now. Because now we do not have the information. You know, and especially because, like you said, you get into relationships, you just don't even know things because nobody taught you all those things.
And we get into, remember those four things again. So I'm looking for love and acceptance. I'm looking for control. I'm looking for safety. And I am also looking for competence. So I come into this relationship and this is my soul mate. This is my all in all. This is my one person. So what am I expecting from them? All four things. You show me that I am loved and acceptable. You show me that give me validation that I can be anything, support me. You want this person to be your safety, and you want also this person to be the one who gives you control. Don't say no to me. Allow me to just be me. But that is utopia. It doesn't. That is having a relationship
and also forgetting
with
that also this person maybe does not have all four. So it's a lot of pressure for them. We need to take a break. This is such a powerful conversation, but we need to take a break. But when we come back, I can see a number you know, of questions, paragraphs. You've mejitolea na ni mzuri. We will look at them in just a moment. You know, as far as answering all your questions into childhood trauma and how it affects us into adulthood. So you do not want to miss this part of the conversation. Please stay with us, but keep sending in your questions. We'll be answering your questions after this short break. Stay with us. All right, welcome back. Glad you're still with us. This is a new day, Feel Good Friday, and we're having such an important conversation that we really need to have because, like I said when we started the show, there's so many people out here who are suffering, you know, don't know how to deal with things, deal with people, relate with things, relate with people, and this is as a result of childhood trauma. So we're trying to just analyze that, give you the insights that you need to have as far as coping with that and why it's important for us to seek help because we don't do that. I mean, as a people, because of stigma, shame, guilt, all those things. But we need to find help, okay? And I can see a number of questions over here. So Grace, I think let's just answer these questions. Ooh, they are quite a number. So this one says, hello, Ebru. I tuned in from Kisumu and loving the show. As always, Mnakapoa. Thank you very much. Thank you for giving us a platform where we can talk, you know, out our issues as well as learn more. Karibu sana. That is why we're here. And then someone else says, we were raised up by very disciplinarian parents, but I guess it caused more harm than good to us. All of us have events to remember, still so fresh in our minds. It created a huge gap of relationship between our parents and us while growing. But while in high school, my mom has really tried to bring us closer, but my dad, he's pushing us away further, even at the age of 25, we still get slaps, I tell you. If my husband is going to be any bit, look like my dad, marriage kai. Yes, uni bwana. See? Okay, all right. We'll talk about that. And then someone else says, my name is Florence. You people are speaking about me. I have selective amnesia due to what I went through as a child. Mama's death, being left at a cemetery by our relatives after her burial, going back to dad, getting to know the worst stepmom can do too. Food, clothes, and safety was a luxury. I survived, but I still have my feelings bottled and hidden. Oh,
Absolutely.
okay. And then someone else says, hello, Winnie, loving the show. Thank you very much. Well, I experienced domestic abuse when I was young. You know, basically watching my dad abuse my mom, and I didn't know it affected me until I went to campus, and I've constantly been having bad dreams of my dad killing me. I just wake up crying, and everything that I saw came flowing through my mind. What should I do? I really need your help.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
And then this one says, this life has really affected our relationships as adults because we already have a list of men to date. He's petty, full of nasty words, doesn't value communication because right now, we are young adults. It's so bad because at times we feel terrorized and there's no peace at all. Is it okay to move out from our parents' house to keep the distance, have peace, enjoy ndio heshima ibaki? There's that question. So can we answer this one who says, has bad dreams about the dad killing them, wake up and, everything comes flowing through their mind. What can they do?
Right,
Yeah.
absolutely. Now, that one, she really needs to get in touch with a counselor. And you don't need a long haul counseling. What you need to do is to allow your brain, because your brain wants to process the trauma. That's why when you sleep, you have nightmares, because your brain is relaxed and you are in a space where you are not too stressful. You are no longer in the fight-flight mode anymore. So your body is relaxed and it's trying to process some of your unfinished, I call it unfinished business. Now, how we do the unfinished business, there is a technique we call the empty chair technique. And this is a guy who came up with it, where you sit and you have a chair with the supposedly person who hurt you, and you are able to talk to them about how you feel. Now, because it can be a bit weird, I usually do that through letter writing. And so I encourage and I say, write everything you remember. I had a situation myself where I would have this dream, this dark dream, once, maybe twice a year, and I wouldn't understand why. I would have this dream of somebody trying to assault me, and then I would be pleading with them, then I would be calling on Jesus, and then I would wake up. And so it used to be very devastating for me. So one time, and this is how I know the letter writing is powerful. What I did is I sat down, a friend of mine told me, go just write the dream, what you normally see in the dream, because I couldn't connect where it's coming from. The moment I wrote the dream and I finished, bang, I remembered. It was a situation that had happened to me when I was 14 in high school, and I knew what it was, and now I knew how to deal with it. The good thing about this lady, she already knows it's about her dad. So she needs to write a letter to her father. If she can be able to seek for a trauma counselor, that would be better, so that she has a safe space to talk to another human being, so they can retell the story. Usually the talking to a therapist about your traumatic experiences is to be able to create a new narrative from that, so that you move from being a victim into a survivor. And the survivor is the one who celebrates, I went through that, but look where I am. So, but that means that she is still very angry and very bitter about what the father did. And she continues to replay that. That is now PTSD. She needs to get counseling for that.
As soon as possible.
Okay. And there was somebody
there's someone else who said, this life has really affected our relationships as adults because we already have a list of men to date. A list of men to date. So he's petty, full of nasty words, doesn't value communication, because right now we are young adults. I don't know if this is the dad. I don't know. You tell me if you understand it. So she says, but is it okay to move out of our parents' house to keep the distance, to have peace and joy? I think.
Let me tell you, when I was 19, I had an experience with my mother.
What happened?
And I moved out of home against her will.
Oh,
and I
okay.
don't know whether she watches Hebrew. Hi,
Yeah.
Mom.
If you do, hi.
But she told me, if you leave that gate, never come
Don't
back.
come back.
But the reason why I had never disobeyed my mother like that.
Yeah.
But the reason why I did that is because I needed my independence, because we were in poverty, and there was a job that I had been told.
Offered,
And I was and I told her, Mom, you have raised me right. I am not going to go
I'm able to take care
and
of
do
myself,
whatever.
yeah.
But do you know, even today, we don't talk about it.
Yeah.
Because it is water under the bridge. Because what happened is that once I left home, I went and things worked out. They didn't work out for the job, but they worked out because my head was in the right place. I made sure that I remembered what my mother told me, and I remembered what she told me and why. She told me that because she said, I'm trying to protect you. Because it was a guy who had called me and said, come kuna kazi. And my mother knew the guy. And so she was trying to be protective, but she did it in a way that for me, I was so desperate, I needed. But I knew what my mother is saying. Please do not go and fall prey to that man, because he knows how we are. And when I got there and I found out what I found out, I left and I went to my aunt's house. And that's when doors opened for me, and the rest is history. So we never revisit that.
Sure.
So the question, should we move out? I want to say, if you're an adult and you don't need your parents for whatever survival, it's okay. You can move out so that you can go and create a life. There is sometimes our parents are being the way they are to us because they raised us so that we can fly. And we stay in home, and because communication is not clear, we are not getting the message. I am irritated with you because you are not living. Go and live your life like everybody else. But at the same time, your parents are afraid for you. So what you want to say to yourself, how old am I? Do I have a job? Can I pay rent for myself? Can I take care of myself? Then go by all means. Will they be happy? They might not be happy with you, but make sure that you do not go and do exactly what they are afraid you will go. So what am I saying? Be mature about it. And your parents, it's just like what I say to couples who get married, and then you are bringing your parents into the problems. The moment that you decided you are old enough to get married, you are old enough to take care of your marriage problems. When we drag our parents into things, we give them back the power to control and to protect our lives. And we are adults. Then we are mad at them. My mother is so controlling. My father is so controlling. No, let's do this. If you are an adult and you are finding heshimas in there is no heshima between you and your parents because you are living at home, you can do that one. I call it rebellious, which has good intentions.
Oh yes, the intention is the thing, because I'm trying to wonder. So you leave, right? You know how even the Bible says, even in our African setup, we were raised knowing that you disobey your parents, there's a curse. There is a curse. So some people are somewhat afraid, what if I leave and then I leave in bad terms? And then they somewhat say something that might stick and have like an impact in my life. So be smart about it.
Right, but this is the thing. We also need to stop thinking that we don't have control over our lives. We do.
We do have control.
You see, let's not give superstitions and other people a lot of control. Even when the Bible says if you disobey your parents, there will be a punishment for that. God looks at your heart. Your intentions. Jesus said, even when you look at somebody in your heart, you are lusting after them. It is not when you go to bed with that person. It's your heart. God looks at the spirit behind the behavior. And so that is what you want to pay attention to and tell yourself, even when we talk about karma, karma is not injustice. I mean, there is justice with karma. Whatever is done here on earth is going to be paid down here. So if you are going to go that way, then you need to look at your heart and ask yourself, because sometimes we stay in the parents' home because we ourselves are not sure whether we will make it.
Survive out there or not.
So don't make bad choices and then blame your parents.
No.
Know that they have raised you up to this point. They are still very scared for you to make it in life. And I don't know, because even them, they have issues. If you have raised your children right, so why are you scared?
Why are you scared?
You are not sure that you did a good job.
Yeah.
You see, that you can't let them. Angalia kuku. Once the chicks are old enough, they are told.
Oh yeah, go.
In fact, I was watching
beg,
our chicks the other day. And I realized, you know, the mother doesn't feed the chicks.
Yeah. Oh,
he leads them. She leads them to where the food is, and then she will do like this, and the chicks have to pick.
The chick to pick. Okay.
You see, so this is the other thing, that even as parents, and especially now we are talking about childhood experiences that affect our adulthood. Whoever is listening to us, and you are a parent yourself, you do need to also look and say, how am I raising my children? And am I raising them in a defensive way? Defensive way meaning I experienced bad things at home, and now I'm trying to protect myself, our children, from those bad things I experienced. So when my husband takes kiboko, he wants to beat the kids, I am quickly to tell him, no, you can't do that. And now we have marriage problems because I'm doing that, because I'm reacting to what my father used to do to us. And the moment I see my husband pick up a kiboko like this, I immediately go into back. My child state. And now I'm protecting my children. But really, am I protecting my children, or I'm protecting my inner child? You see? Wow. And you need to have a conversation with that inner child and tell that child, it's okay, we survived. It is not happening the way it happened before. And this is not daddy. This is somebody different.
I like that. I like that. But it sounds so easy.
Yes. But it's a process.
It's a process.
It's something that you, because it's a mindset change. You are changing a narrative in your mind. But most of us do not realize the way we react to our children, we are actually protecting our inner child. And so you need to know. Ukiona, if every time your husband is going to discipline, because we know men, my husband is a disciplinarian, so he uses kiboko, me I'm more maneno. And I always feel something when I see him, you know, you know, take a kiboko. But I know that my husband would never hurt our kids. And so the thing that you want to do is to be aware, self-aware, and then take charge of that, and realize that this is not you going through that. These are your children, and this is your husband.
Hey, it's a process, people. It's a process. Hiya. And then someone else says, I'm Sarah. My father wasn't part of me when I was growing up. He was away from us, and so I didn't have a father figure growing up. So when I'm in a relationship, I feel like I'm asking for too much. It's like I ask from my partner what my father could have given me. And I think it affects me because I get disappointed. How can I deal with that?
Yes. Now, there is something that we call emotional neediness. All of us have emotional needs. But some of us, because of attachment issues, we have what we call secure attachment. We have what we call fearful and avoidant. And we have what we call anxious. Anxious attachment. So if you didn't have the father figure at home, or you had a father who was absent, you know, emotionally, then you kind of experience some sort of abandonment. You didn't connect with the father figure. So what happens is that the needs that the father should have met emotionally were not met. And usually the father provides for the children a sense of worth. And a sense of safety, you know, and security, a sense of covering. So when that is not there, when I come out into the world, I'm looking for that. Because I didn't have. So what she needs to do, if she can be able to get in touch with a counselor and be able to process what she lost and to grieve that loss. And then the counselor can help her now get in touch with who she is now. So that she's not reacting from that child's space, and she begins to react from an adult space. What is an adult space? You are the agency of yourself. Now, there are three ways that we deal with things in life. Either from an adult space, where it is you who is in control. So it is the present. I'm here with John. John is not giving me 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's what it is. And I am realistic about what John is capable of giving me. As a parent, you can also deal with the situation from a parent space. And a parent space is where you are pointing fingers at you. you know, wewe mtoto mbaya, kichwa ngumu, all that, because that's what, and then as a child is where you go into that child state, oh please don't leave me, give me, where are you, you know, just very needy, and it's very overwhelming for people.
Oh yeah.
So this lady, what she would need to do is to heal that. Now that you are aware of it, you need to kind of ask yourself, every time you experience anxiety, that mood that tells you, oh gosh, he's going to leave me, then you need to ask yourself, why? Is there any evidence that he's going to leave me? What is it? And then also communicate with your partner.
Yeah.
You know, be able to kind of communicate with them how you feel. And hopefully, if he is a person who is also healthy, can validate that.
Yeah, because I think sometimes people are scared of sharing that part of how vulnerable they are in that way.
Yes.
Because there's some people who are just bad people and they use it against you.
Right.
You know, so you fall into abuse, both emotional or even physical, because they tell you, I know your person, they use it against you, and they even remind you, and they even tell you how of a worthless person you are because of what that is why whatever happened to you happened to you because you're worthless and stuff. So sometimes people are scared to share that part of their lives. So what you're saying is, first of all, understand the partner, the kind of person you are with, and then communicate that so that they don't feel, oh, this person is too needy, you know, and they might end up leaving, you know, and proving that fear that you have.
Yeah,
you know?
you actually create the fear that you ascribe to. And so one of the things that also I can help this young lady and anybody else to do is to actually connect with your faith, because you have a creator beyond your parents. There is the person who decided that you are supposed to be on earth. Connect with your creator, because once you do that, and for those who are believers, Christians, I can share this with you. Psalms 27:10, when my father and my mother forsake me, then you, O Lord, will pick me up. And so you can be able to find a connection with the Heavenly Father. If you're able to do that, then that can fill the void that you feel. Now, there is also the issue of validation, because your father is supposed to validate you. Begin to think the reason why you are so needy in a relationship is because you constantly are needing validation. But you need to do that for yourself. You need to tell yourself, I'm a person of worth. I am worth of love, and I can give love. Now, this is the other thing. If you are in a relationship where you are feeling your needs are not being met, so do a list of what is this that this guy, what are your expectations, and what is it that he doesn't give you, or what is it that he gives, what he gives, what he doesn't, and your expectations. And so that you can be able to balance out what is it that is you are expecting things that are beyond.
Oh yeah, maybe they're beyond them.
If it's for your father, if it's something that you needed your father to do for you, this is not your father. Because you are supposed to come into this relationship whole and him whole.
So that you can complement each other.
And please, if you are in a dating relationship where you are being abused, verbally, physically, and emotionally, leave.
Please don't stay. Don't stay. And we'll talk more about that. But our time is very much spent, Grace. But it doesn't mean that this is the end of that conversation. No, we need to still have this conversation again. But just to answer another question. So this one says, hello, Ebru. As for me, I grew up with an abusive dad. He beat up mom and even us with my 3 siblings for no reason. And came a time when mom could not take it anymore and she called it quits. I was in class 5 by the time we moved. Because mom had to go work, she left us at our grandma's, where again I got raped. Oh no, not once, not twice, by my uncle. This is the brother to the mom. Oh gosh. And continues to say, I'm currently 23 years old and I've never dated because all my life I've lived to be scared that they might turn out to be like my dad and my uncle. I'm confused because I'm thinking of like being on my own for life because I was never taught to love or I've never experienced any parental love. This is heavy. What do I do?
I know. Now, I'm going to, first of all, congratulate her for having the courage to speak. That is a story that is told and part of so many young women. Have had that story countless times. Now, what I want to encourage her, she's 23. You have a whole life ahead of you. What what you will be feeling at 27 is not what you are feeling now. So there is time. What I would encourage her to do is to get some healing. Don't get into a relationship, an intimate relationship, until you have gone through some healing, personal healing, because those are tremendous wounds. And so find a counselor, and they can call me if I can help. I do online counseling, and I can take her through the process to start the process of healing, so that now her belief can change. Because her belief is that all men are bad. And that is not necessarily true. We have some really good men out here. So if she can get that, get some healing going on, and then number two, take your time. I am telling ladies these days, please stop getting married, getting into relationships before you are 25. Before you are 25, you don't even know who you are. So this girl, what she needs to do, and anybody else who is listening to us, regardless of what your age is, if you went through a situation where your personhood was tampered with, and you don't know who you are, because the people who are supposed to help you develop an identity, they destroyed it. Please seek help. And if you are finding yourself going into one relationship after the other, stop. You will not die because you don't have a relationship. That is what people develop, what you call codependency, because you need that. That's the way you feel good
and safe
by
and
connecting.
And
so it doesn't matter who I connect with, as long as you are available, I connect. And so you want to break away from that. Take some time to walk through getting to know yourself.
And can we give them your number?
Yes,
just in case they ask, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then time is like literally up, but let's just answer this too, okay? So very briefly, I think in 1 minute. Okay, so this one says, hello, Ebru. I'm loving the show. I grew up watching my dad hurt my mom every day. He had said he will kill us one day. I have nightmares of him killing us. My mom doesn't want to leave him, and he's the reason I think men are useless. There's that. And then someone else says, hi, Ebru. I was raised by this perfect dad who protected and made me feel so worthy. I am married, and I get myself having too much expectations from my husband, but I get disappointed.
Yes.
There's imperfect, and then there's perfect.
There is perfect.
But still,
Now, I'm going to say with the imperfect, number one, the belief is rooted in your dad. So that's not your belief. That is your dad who has made you believe that. So you do need to go through some sort of clarity, self-awareness, so that you can create your own belief. Because if you don't do that, guess what? When you fall in love with a man, and or even a woman, if you are a man, and that person is exactly like, they have traits like what you experienced before, guess what? You're not going to walk away because you have normalized it. So what we want to do is to heal that, so that you can create your own narrative about men or women that has nothing to do with
whatever
happened to you. So create a step out of this box, and allow yourself to consider that it could be different. The one who was protected by dad
has high expectations.
Adjust your expectations, and learn more about husbands. Who are they? And look at your husband and really pay attention to him. So stop comparing him with your father. Allow yourself to see him for who he is, and understand his family as well, where he comes from. Understand some of the things he struggles with. Allow yourself to interact. Don't put the mirror, know, the mirror has your dad and then him.
Husband.
No, try to separate the two, so that you allow yourself to really connect with your husband and accept him.
And you know what? I think, Grace, sometimes we need to talk about this because, it's important that we all grow up in a safe space where parents also have words of affirmation towards their child. But then again, when does it get too much? Like, for instance, you see what she says, high expectations. So now I have high expectations towards men and what they need to do for me. I think we can talk about when too much, like it becomes
balance,
too much balance,
yeah.
you know, of the same. And even for this topic, you know, childhood trauma and
Yes.
into adult, barely scratched the surface.
Yeah.
Barely scratched the surface because it's too wide and has a lot to talk about. So please, can you come back again?
I
We'll talk
can
about
come
that.
back again, and
Good.
people can actually watch my videos
Yes.
on my YouTube
Yeah,
channel,
so that they can also get that.
www.gracekariuki.co.ke.
Okay.
And
All right,
they can
Grace.
see
But
more.
please come back. We
I
need you here
I
so we can
will.
talk this. Okay. We have
Right.
to say goodbye. That is all the time we had for you, you know, for today's topic. But like we said, we promise you, we'll still talk about this because it's a lot. I mean, we've not even dealt with like death, you know, separation and all those things. So we'll have another session on the same. But for now, we have to say goodbye. My name is Winnie Lubembe on behalf of Grace Kariuki, amazing, amazing family, and of course, relationship counselor. Give us a lot of insight as far as just dealing with trauma. We'll see you some other time. God bless. Have yourselves a lovely day. And I'm going to see you in the next literally 5 minutes for Ebro News 1 p.m. So be sure to tune in for that. But until then, God bless. Have yourselves a lovely weekend and see you soon. Goodbye for now.